Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to cilinixfxcapital. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're having a great weekend so far, and welcome to this new video right here on Bitcoin. We're going to do a full update. Now, obviously, yesterday the United States markets at least were closed already on Independence Day. So what that means, and we spoke about that briefly yesterday as well. But for those of you who missed the video, it is very, very important to know that means that liquidity and volume is going to dry up quite a bit over the course of this weekend, right? So in general, does that matter that much? No, and at this point of time, it's also still $41 billion the volume, because yesterday, obviously, we did see some volume entering the markets, but ultimately what that does mean is that order books are thinner. There's less liquidity, which is the same thing, but makes a little bit more sense. So that means that when new volume enters the markets, or when relatively high volume enters over the course of this weekend, it will have a larger effect, right? So that is something to know. Now, at this point of time, there's no shenanigans like that going on, right? I mean, at this point of time, Bitcoin's price action is actually quite interesting, but there's no massive volatility. And at this point of time, I would argue that the order book depth is also still quite high. We have a 2% depth right here on Binance of about 27 million. On Coinbase, we have 27 million here as well. We have a lot of depth on Coinbase to the downside, so that's quite interesting. That's a little bit bullish, I would even say. But right, so that is something to know. And but for now, let's get right into Bitcoin here. So ultimately, at this point of time, we're kind of stuck in the middle. And what I mean with that is that obviously, and by the way, we'll also talk about those Bitcoins that yesterday were moved from a 14-year-old address. Which potentially I made some of you a little bit scared with that in my middle of the day market update. But at this point of time, there's no need to be that scared of it right now. But what I mean with that we're kind of stuck in the middle is that right now, Bitcoin is in this very tight area right here, where we have broken down from the balance we formed here to the upside. So that's bad news, of course, and we also left a single print, and you can see the reaction to that single print right here. Hopefully you can see it. Was quite strong, right? So that's technically that's a bearish confirmation. That's not what you want to see. But at the same point of time, look, we're also not in the same range as we were in from the 25th of June until the 2nd of July last week, right? So that was this balance right here, and we're still holding the top of that balance at this point of time as support. So that means that we are stuck in the middle here. And that is that's not necessarily strange because the volume is so low. So buyers and sellers are not really auctioning the price right now. They're kind of there's no look. The one thing you need for decisive price action is volume, and at this point of time, there's not enough volume to go for one of these sides. So as long as we're holding the breakout, and as long as most of this bearish pressure happened with low volume, which it did, by the way, the entire drop we did below 108,000, which in my opinion technically was most crucial in terms of a breakdown. The entire drop we did was with relatively low volume, as you can see down here. So therefore, I would say it's and also because of that we're still holding 108,000 right now, I would say it's a little bit more likely that we will be able to reclaim 108,500 and that we'll regain some balance up here. I would say this is most likely, right? Will I trade that though? Maybe if it happens on Monday, but not here over the course of this weekend. My trading this weekend remains very, very limited. But ultimately, we're waiting for either a breakdown below 107.8 or a breakout above 108.6. I would say it's a little bit more likely we're going to get the bullish breakout and that we're going to get stability here. Also because, I mean, yesterday what I told you is that billions of dollars in Bitcoin were being moved around from very old addresses. And you can see that has happened. These are some of the addresses. But at this point of time, nothing has happened with that. And the news now is also so widespread that, you know, if there would be a reason for caution, if there would be a reason for my apologies for the clock on the background, but if there would be any reason to be afraid, we would have already seen that in the markets, right? I mean, smart money would have sold already. But that hasn't happened. So therefore, at this point of time, look, if all of a sudden those accounts start to sell, things change. But at this point of time, I would say it's most likely that stability and a little bit of a bullish bias is most likely. But those are my thoughts. That's what I think you need to know. For now, have a great weekend. Take care and bye.